the map again. Um, so at both North Seattle and South Seattle, outside the library, they've decided to take student services remote for at least 2 weeks to the end of January, because they were running into situations of they were having people get sick, and so they couldn't come in. And sometimes the people who got sick were in contact with other people in the department. And like at South Seattle, there was one entire student services department that had to shut because everybody was either sick or in quarantine because they'd been exposed to people who were sick. So they just decided, nope, all student services are going online for 2 weeks. And at that college, the library is deciding to continue to be open for pickup services only, and like that's it. Up at North Seattle, they had the library open when other student services offices were closed, and they've all decided, nope, not this time around. This time around, we're worried enough about Omicron being so contagious that if student services are closed, the library is a student service, and the library is going to be closed for 2 weeks. And then at Seattle Central, they're doing really, really limited open hours where they've closed off all the student seating except student seating that's visible to library staff, because they've had problems with people like going and sitting in a back corner and taking their masks off. So basically they're open for like maybe two or 4 hours, just with the idea that minimal amount of time gives them a little flexibility, that if one person gets sick, that there are other staff who can still cover those hours. So yeah.
Yeah, just FYI, I started recording, so a few minutes ago. Well, welcome everyone. I don't have any topics for this morning, so I will open it up to whatever you guys want to talk about.
Does anybody have any normals already made for bringing in streaming videos from like Canopy or Swank?
I'm sorry, any what, Melinda? I didn't.
Sorry, normals.
Oh, normals. Do you mean import profiles?
Yeah, import profiles or norming processes for bringing in the streaming videos.
I have a profile for films on demand, but Canopy and Swank, we do title by title and bring in the records from OCLC. Paula could give more info than I.
They have OCLC records for that. When I went into WorldCat, I wasn't finding any, but maybe I'm looking in the wrong place.
There we go.
I
go through
so.
Connection and I find them in Connection.
We don't have a Connection subscription.
Okay.
So wait, so you don't have the library does not have an OCLC cataloging and metadata service subscription?
We have one but I'm running through everything. Basically, I go and have it connected through Alma. So I'm doing all my cataloging right now through Alma. And if I need to edit something outside of Alma, I use MarcEdit. But I don't have anything outside of Alma that's connected to anything. Now we may have a subscription that I don't know about, but that's kind of how I'm working through it.
Yeah, there's a software program that OCLC provides that's called Connection, and it's spelled with an X instead of a T.
Right, I'm familiar with what it is. I just didn't think we had a subscription to it.
Yeah, if your library has the cataloging and metadata service subscription, then you're allowed to use the Connection client software and Connection web.
Cool,
Great.
then I will look
If you
into that. Thank
want.
you.
Yeah, with Canopy, only one of my libraries uses Canopy, and we've just been getting MARC records from the vendor. My stance is pretty much if this is something that we're only going to have for a limited period of time, and if we're only going to license it for 1 to 2 years, then I honestly don't care that much about the quality of the records. Sad to say, or actually, no, I probably more that if we're only going to have it for a limited period of time, then I'm going to devote limited resources and limited time to managing it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same opinion. I think mostly it's just I haven't had a lot of experience in bringing in having success in with import profiles yet from just bringing in the record. And if I try and just do an original catalog of it, it ends up being a book record as opposed to a digital or an electronic record. So I was hoping to find a way to bring in an electronic record so that it's electronic native as opposed to me trying to finagle a book record, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it honestly, if you're doing things one at a time, there's actually a way where you can create a template for a streaming video bib record as opposed to a book record. But you'll have to create the titles one at a time in the metadata editor, if that makes sense, because you have
No,
to
that makes sense. I'm just thinking I'd have to copy it from a current streaming record that exists, like maybe in the like I copy a record from the community zone and then edit it that is in streaming, because when I create a new record, I was looking in all of the shared bib records and they're all like physical formats as opposed to electronic formats, which is weird.
Yeah, yeah, you need to fix that. I honestly think the easiest thing would probably be to get the MARC records from Canopy and import them using an import profile.
Right, creating an import profile. Okay, I'll play with that and see if I can get it to work, because I haven't got a lot of experience yet in doing import profiles because I've been busy doing other things. So that'll be my next project.
I think we've got an import profile for the Canopy MARC records, and I'll share that in with the I'll share that to the community import profiles.
That would be super helpful. Thank you, Kirsty. I really appreciate it. It would save me a lot of time because I've got about 45 films from from Avon. We stopped subscribing to Avon, but we've got 45 films that we own perpetually that I've got to get cataloged as well. So having an import profile that at least, again, has that kind of digital native or electronic native, sorry, Alma wording is specific. It's not digital, but that would be really helpful. Thank you. That's all I got. I just need, it's like working with, normals and import profiles. Those are the things that I'm next having to put on my learn list.
Never a dull moment.
Exactly.
I have a question for the group. I put it out on the listserv. I was unable to see some answers, so you may have replied and I was not able to see it, but was just wondering with other institutions with Google Scholar, we already have our profile set up within Alma, but the question was, and Wade had sent me some links back to, Gale and EBSCO and ProQuest. I wanted to know if other institutions had worked specifically with those vendors, outside of Ex Libris, to set up a Google Scholar collection or connection, I should say. If not, that's okay. I'm just querying. We're looking here at Green River to see if we can get better Google Scholar results, and we had heard that you could work with specific vendors, but I didn't know if anyone else had actually done that.
You know, we had talked about it a little while back when EBSCO had gotten rid of their SFX updates and so forth. So I know Ben Ugaldia over at the Falls had been working on that for a while, and he's the one that kind of works with our stuff. I can reach out to him and see if he's got any new information on that, but I haven't directly been working on it with him, but I know it's something that was kind of on his radar, as we have a lot of students who are using Google Scholar, especially over there.
I'm sorry, you said, what was his last name? I didn't catch that. Ben,
Ugaldia,
and he is where?
he's over at the Falls. Sometimes
Okay.
he jumps on these calls, but he tends to be busy and doesn't always jump on here. So he's kind of my counterpart over at Spokane Falls.
Spokane. Okay. Okay. I could also reach out to him. I mean, yeah, if you have a connection, great. Otherwise, I can try to reach out too, but that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just to be clear, Jennifer, what you're talking about is originating searches in Google Scholar and indicating holdings at your vendor for citations. So you find a citation in Google Scholar, and if there's a link to, it would say something like EBSCO at Green River, and
So you're sick, huh?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I figured, yeah, just to make sure everybody understands that. It's
Yeah,
not-
it would be not using well, let me rephrase that. I don't know how it would look. My query is to say using, in addition, to the Alma link resolver, another type of link resolver that would go directly into EBSCO. Now,
Yeah,
again, I don't know how that would look from a display point of view if it actually worked, because then in a sense, would we have two link resolvers at, on Google Scholar? I don't even know how that would look. I'm just in the beginning stages of my exploration.
I think we have it set up for ProQuest, but it was done a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, presumably if an article is available, the citation existed in, in full text in Primo, and then also in EBSCO, and also in ProQuest. You'd see 3 links in Google Scholar.
Okay.
That would be my guess. I don't know that for sure, but it seems like that's it. And that's assuming that whoever's using Google Scholar has set as their library Green River, and then you'd have to set, well, I don't know if you'd have to set other library. I don't know if you would have to, as a user of Google Scholar, go in and say activate the link, the Green River EBSCO link resolver or not.
Yeah, that's a good question too. I don't know how that would be. Yeah.
Well, what it looks like in ours is it looks like an additional Google Scholar choice that you have in
Okay.
addition to the Shoreline Google Scholar. And we accidentally created 2 Shoreline Google Scholar profiles, so we need to get rid of one of ours.
So when your users go into the settings in Google Scholar and they type in their library Shoreline, does it one say like Shoreline and then one says like Shoreline ProQuest or something like that?
Right, yes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's helpful to know. Thank you.
And and I think that I personally think that the idea of users using Google Scholar is kind of an interesting conversation. To what extent are users on Google Scholar versus Primo versus anything else? What drives users to Google Scholar? Is it just something they know about? Is it students? Is it faculty, etc.?
Jennifer, with Google Scholar, do you provide a link from your database listings to Google Scholar? And if so, do you include your institution ID in that?
You mean like, for example, when a user is directly within the ProQuest interface to provide a link at that point? Is that what you're asking?
No, no. So I'm asking, I assume you have like a list of databases, whether through LibGuides or something like that on your
Sure.
website, do you provide a link to your students and faculty to go from your website to Google Scholar?
We don't currently, but are you sort of on the idea that if we did so, we could have a permalink that would immediately set users settings so that it would show Green River Holdings? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, correct. If
Uh,
so, yeah, there's basically a institution ID that can be added to the URL,
okay.
and what that does is then that kind of sidesteps the users having to be logged into their account and to be logged into their Google account and to select your library.
Sure.
As with all of this stuff, there's no perfect fix, but I'm assuming your core concern is surfacing as many of your records as possible. But is there also a concern about well, how would you describe your core concern with the Google Scholar bit?
Well, it's actually coming from another librarian, so I'm trying to do some of the background work on it. I assumed that we were doing okay with surfacing all of our records. She seems to indicate that it's not. I'm still waiting to have her give me some examples. So the idea is, okay, well, if that's the case, if we had open URLs with other database vendors, we could, as you say, just surface more records. But then, of course, that becomes slightly problematic because that puts more onus on the user, right? To say if there's like with Isaacs, you have to choose Shoreline and then Shoreline ProQuest to actually show everything. So yeah, so your idea about the institution ID is good. I don't know if there is a problem with, I assumed that the open URL from Ex Libris was doing its job, but maybe not.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that extra context. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. Yeah. Your librarian is initially saying, hey, maybe I think there's stuff we subscribe to that when a user searches in Google Scholar, it's not necessarily showing up with our link.
That is exactly, that's her contention. And so if I can get some more, specifics from her and see, yeah, by all rights, it should be showing up, then that's a really indication for us to move forward with this. But it's an interesting, problem. But I actually did not know about getting a canned link with the ID. That might be very helpful for users. We have within Primo, I think Wade helped us set up, if you do a search in Primo and get the results list on the left-hand side, it might be through CSS, I forget. You can also click on Google Scholar and it will perform that same search in Google Scholar. But at that point, it does not take the institution ID with it.
Right. Yeah. And, I was reminded of this because something went weird with that message that you sent out to the list, but there was a threaded reply in there at some point.
Okay.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna forget who it was. I've got to look at the list here now. I'm sorry folks, but our colleague at Big Bend, she shared, I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting her name at this second. But she shared a really great tip that reminded me of this Google Scholar bit. Rhonda, yes. Gosh, thank you. Yeah, let me know if you, Jennifer, if you can't see that that email in the thread from Rhonda. I'd be glad to forward that over because she's got some good information on that.
If you could, I would be really, really grateful. I'm sort of going blind. I'm trying to figure out what's going on my end, why I can't see it. But so I'm going blind people have probably replied to me, but I didn't see it. So thank you very much, Ryder.
Yeah, I didn't see it initially either. But I did see it somewhere threaded in there. So I'll forward that over and add some extra on how I approached it. But basically, Rhonda reminded me that I had set it up that way.
Gotcha.
So,
And I just pasted Rhonda's reply into chat so you can see it.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this is great. Give me some directions to go and some things to think about. And yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
yeah, and if you have any trouble finding what your institution ID number is, I can help point out where that might be.
Okay, perfect.
We're off the top of my head.
Thank you.
It should, yeah, if you follow a link in Google Scholar to one of your institutional citations, it must show up there, huh?
Okay.
Yeah, and Google Scholar is interesting because I'm not particularly familiar with the contents, and I'm not sure if it's well known what the contents are, or if it's a black box.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know from the Google
Yeah,
Scholar
yeah.
point of view, what does their index look like? I really don't know. I think from our point of view, or from the librarian's point of view, is that she knows that a lot of students just start at Google Scholar. And so she thought, well, if they're gonna at least start there, let's see if we can, show our as many holdings as we can. But yeah, you're right. I always wonder what Google actually indexes and what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm trying to, yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm looking on Google's website right now about Google Scholar just to see what. There's some. I mean, this stuff's not hard to find. I'm just, from a standpoint of, long-term library strategy. It's kind of, if you start managing Google Scholar within the library, kind of that's, you're managing two different discovery platforms, which maybe is fine. It just takes more time. And to what extent are libraries deciding to use Google Scholar as their primary search interface and dropping other discovery layers? That's kind of that would be a long-term strategy that Google Scholar might take a part in. All right, well, anything else? Yeah, if not, we can conclude this meeting early. You guys can have a half an hour back of your Tuesday. I hope everybody had a good weekend, a good long weekend. All right, that looks like, do we have another conversation here? Something about YBP and EDI.
Yeah. Yeah, we ordered some of our ebooks through YBP. And we've been doing the invoicing manually, but we want to set up EDI invoicing. And I just had any questions if anybody else has done that, have there been problems that you've run into that we should keep an eye out for, or, any hints?
Well, we only have it set up for print books. They did offer to do it for ebooks as well, but we only buy very few ebooks from them. So I haven't done that, but for print books, it's been working fine. You just have to go back and forth when you set up with their technical team. But once it's set up, it's fine.
Okay, good.
And how do you do the POL numbers, Naoko? I guess you create those in Alma and you push those to the vendor, so those automatically follow the order when the invoicing comes back, I guess. Correct.
In our case, we're doing the workflow where we place the orders on the vendor platform, and then we export brief mark records that have the POL number. So we're not.
I see. Yeah.
We're creating the POLs through import. I
Yeah,
think EOCR workflow.
Right. When we used to pay for the API, everything was automatic. But once we dropped that because it was too expensive, we switched to importing the brief records from Gobi. But I also set it up so that Alma grabs it automatically from the FTP site, so you don't have to. Well, once you set up the import profile, you don't have to do it manually.
I may email you with questions, Naoko.
Sure, anytime.
And what kind of volume? I'm just curious. What kind of ordering volume are you guys talking about? Both at Highline and Seattle, I guess.
Well, since COVID, we haven't been ordering as many print books as in the past. So we don't have any more like typical volume to really give you as an example. It's right now it's kind of hard to say what our typical ordering volume is.
I'm thinking like numbers in the 2 digits when we place our orders, probably.
Yeah, and would you order from them because it's not available through Amazon? Is that because I mean I think the preference at Seattle these days is P card ordering, which
Oh well, so we're using YBP for ebooks and specifically for ProQuest ebooks, and it was simply because of our weird situation of being multiple libraries that are simultaneously one library. It's easier for us to get the 3 library licensing for ProQuest ebooks if we do it through YBP but then we order our EBSCO ebooks directly from EBSCO.
Yeah, I got you.
And we're doing most of our print ordering either through Amazon, or Seattle Central and North Seattle are now, they're having issues with Amazon, so they're moving their ordering to Elliott Bay Book Company, which is a local independent bookstore.
Oh, all right. Anything else? All right, going once, going twice. All right, well, thanks very much, everyone. I'm going to stop recording and